How does a global superstar, famous for dancing in a banana skirt, become a nation's secret weapon? At the height of her fame, Josephine Baker was the Queen of Paris, a symbol of the Jazz Age's exuberant freedom. But as the 1,930 seconds bled into a new decade of war, her stage was about to become a battlefield. We think we know the entertainer, but the historical record reveals a far more dangerous identity: a cunning intelligence operative for the French resistance. This is the story of her rebellion. Now, let's uncover how she defied her world. By 1939, Josephine Baker was more than an entertainer. She was a phenomenon. Having fled the brutal segregation of the United States, she found in France a country that celebrated her. She became a French citizen, a wealthy icon who owned a chateau and held court with European society's elite. But across the border, an ideology of hate was metastasizing. The Nazi regime despised everything she represented: a successful, powerful, and free black woman. To them, she was a prime example of degenerate culture. The impending war, therefore, was not a distant political abstraction for her. It was a deeply personal threat to her identity, her home, and her very existence. This is the crucible that forged a spy. As Germany's shadow fell over Europe, Jacques Abte, the head of French counter-military intelligence, was tasked with recruiting agents whose loyalty was absolute. He needed operatives who could move across borders, mingle in high society, and gather information without suspicion. Who better than the world's most famous entertainer? What the historical record, specifically Abte's own memoirs, shows us is a recruitment that was astonishingly direct. He met her at her estate, Les Milandes, and laid out the immense danger. He expected hesitation. Instead, he found a patriot. She famously told him, "France made me what I am. I will be grateful forever. Use me as you will." Her fame was no longer just a shield. It was about to become a sword. The decision was made. The star would become a spy. Her promise was not an empty one. It was a declaration of war, fought not in trenches, but in the grand ballrooms and guarded borders of occupied Europe. Josephine Baker's transformation into Agent Josephine was immediate, and her strategy utterly brilliant. The core of her operational genius was leveraging the very thing that made her famous: her celebrity. While other agents skulked in shadows, she operated in the blinding glare of the spotlight. Her international tours were the perfect cover, allowing her to move with an entourage, dozens of trunks, and an air of untouchable glamour that disarmed even the most suspicious officials. Her primary weapon was access. At embassy parties from Lisbon to Marseille, she would glide through crowds of high-ranking Axis officials, diplomats, and military attachés. What they saw was a dazzling, apolitical entertainer. What they missed was the sharp, analytical mind cataloging every whispered conversation. She gathered intelligence on German troop movements, Italian naval schedules, and the identities of collaborators within France. This is where we see the entertainer's skill become the spy's greatest asset. Her performance was one of charming distraction, coaxing vital information from powerful men eager to boast in her presence. But gathering intelligence was only half the battle. Exfiltrating it was the truly dangerous part. This is where her most famous tradecraft comes into play. According to memoirs from her intelligence handler, Jacques Abte, and her own post-war testimony, Baker would transcribe the secrets she gathered onto her sheet music using invisible ink. The notes for a love song might secretly detail the fortifications at an enemy port. The lyrics to her hit, J'ai deux amours, I have two loves, took on a profound double meaning. Her two loves being her country and her art, now fused into a single act of resistance. At border crossings, Nazi guards, often starstruck, would ask for an autograph rather than inspect her papers, never realizing the documents they were waving through contained the very secrets that would undermine their regime. On other occasions, she pinned classified photos and reports to her undergarments, correctly gambling that the soldiers would be too intimidated or embarrassed to conduct a proper search of a global superstar. Her most critical mission took her to North Africa in 1941 under the guise of a health retreat. The region was a powder keg of Vichy French, Free French, and Axis sympathizers, and a crucial staging ground for the Allies. Baker's work there was invaluable, acting as a sub-agent and courier, passing messages between General de Gaulle's Free French forces and Allied contacts. She hosted parties that were, in reality, intelligence gathering sessions, creating a neutral ground where resistance sympathizers could meet and exchange information under the cover of her celebrity. She was risking everything. One mistake, one informant, one unlucky break, and the Gestapo would have unmasked her. The personal cost was a constant state of high alert, a performance for her life that had no final curtain. Yet, the intelligence she helped funnel out of the region proved vital for the success of Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa in 1942, a major turning point in the war. When France was liberated, Josephine Baker's secret war came to an end, but her fight was far from over. Her contributions, once clandestine, were now officially and gloriously recognized. The French government, led by General Charles de Gaulle, awarded her the Croix de Guerre and the Rosette de la Résistance. Later, she was made a Chevalier of the Légion d'honneur, the nation's highest order of merit. What the official citations reveal is the sheer depth of her service. This wasn't a celebrity dabbling in espionage. This was a dedicated operative who provided intelligence of critical military value. For decades, this part of her life remained a semi-hidden chapter, overshadowed by the glitter of her stage career. It is a powerful reminder that the most profound acts of defiance often happen just out of sight. The courage she honed fighting the Third Reich became the weapon she wielded against another evil: racial segregation in her native United States. For Baker, the fight against Nazism and the fight for civil rights were two fronts in the same war against supremacist ideology. She returned to America not just as an entertainer, but as a warrior. She used her fame as leverage, instituting a non-negotiable clause in her contracts that she would only perform for integrated audiences. This forced clubs from Miami to Las Vegas to desegregate, often for the first time in their history. This defiance reached its zenith in 1963, when she stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, the only official female speaker at the March on Washington. Clad in her Free French military uniform, adorned with her medals, she spoke to the crowd not as a distant celebrity, but as someone who had seen the face of fascism and recognized its reflection in American segregation. Her presence on that stage powerfully linked the global struggle for freedom with the domestic struggle for justice. Her ultimate act of defiance was perhaps her most personal. Her Rainbow Tribe, a family of 12 children she adopted from all over the world. It was a radical, a living experiment designed to prove that children of different ethnicities and religions could live as brothers and sisters. A direct, tangible rebuke to the hatred she had fought her entire life. Josephine Baker's life is a testament that the true stage for defiance can be anywhere. A smoky nightclub, a guarded border, or a segregated theater. She weaponized her fame for freedom and proved that one person's courage can, indeed, challenge the course of history. Remembering her full story isn't just about honoring the past. It's about arming ourselves with the audacity to build a better future.